Hey everyone, Monica Bodierski here. How are you doing? How do you feel about having a little bit of spring cleaning going on and doing that with a tarot spread to help you get at those pesky shadows? Stay tuned. I'll show you how. Welcome to Shadowland. Hey everyone, welcome back. Monica Bodierski here, artist, advisor, and author. I would like to talk to you a little bit about the spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere and what kind of a liminal state we're in. We just came out of a full moon, so that energy is kind of waning as the moon wanes. For those of you who are new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and the like button and leaving a comment. For those of you who are coming back, thank you so much for being here and for your continual support. So, spring equinox is very much a time of balance. It is that liminal state. We are just finishing winter. We are just entering into spring. Light is getting more apparent. Days are getting longer, and equinox is actually when the day is divided perfectly in half, 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark. It's a very interesting space. I feel, for my own practice, it is a perfect time to clear out any lingering cobwebs and stagnation that I may have accrued over winter. And as I've said very frequently, especially with COVID, and isolation and things just not being quite the way they were. And even if they're getting closer to it, there's still a lot of people who are working from home now permanently and who feel very isolated and cut off. So I feel like the spring cleaning is a really healthy thing. We're not just talking about mind, body, and spirit detox. We're also talking about let's dig a little deeper and shine some light on those shadows that are not normally accessible. And by shadow work, for those of you who are new to doing that, I have been a shadow worker for many, many years, and all of the decks I've created, many of them, they're all specifically for the purpose of shadow work, even though you can use them as regular decks for divination or contemplation. So Carl Jung came up with this theory and this idea of the shadow self, and felt very much that it was the part of us that cannot be seen, that we don't want to show anyone, including ourselves. It is stuffed away in our subconscious, kind of like, that ugly part of us that we just don't want to see and we don't want anyone else to see. Now, the interesting thing is, objectively speaking, it's not an ugly thing, and it's nothing to be horrified by. As a matter of fact, it's usually society that tells us that those are attributes that are unacceptable. And so we internalize that narrative and we think it's unacceptable. Probably nobody else would. Let me give you an example. If, let's just say, you were raised being told that as a woman, you shouldn't be that smart because men find it intimidating or unattractive, we're going way back, although maybe this still happens, you might, if you're a woman, pretend you aren't that intelligent, or giggle a lot and tilt your head, so you don't appear threatening or too intelligent, and strength goes along with that, of course. You're not being who you actually are. You're basically being who society may be pressuring you to be. And so, your shadow is maybe a really high IQ. And the issue there, of course, would be that you're not maybe living up to your potential and you're shackled by those expectations and societal narratives. There's so many examples, but that is just one that comes to mind. So, in this time of light increasing in a liminal space, I thought, why not give you a 3-card shadow cleanse spread, okay? So if you want to, please use the cards I'm pulling. I have, of course, the Shadowland Tarot. And I'm going to be using that, shuffling that sucker, and pulling 3 cards. If you want to use your own deck, if you don't have this deck, or try this on your own sometime, please do. Right now, if you'd like to hear what I'm going to share with those of you who are watching, I'm sure it'll be relevant to you. Okay, so here's a little spring cleanse. So the first card that you're going to pull, these are 3 cards, okay? The first card I'm pulling is your shadow. Okay, that's card number 1. So the shadow is the Queen of Swords. Talk about an interesting coincidence there, because I often associate the Queen of Swords with a mature intelligence. This is a person who likes to write. You can see the library and the pen in hand, and there is a sharpness to this person, usually in communication and in IQ. So this is exactly what I'm saying. The shadow is you are not recognizing your own maturity and strength in communicating, writing, and the element of air, okay? Sometimes that goes into singing, goes into movement, it goes into perception. So there's something you're not recognizing there about yourself, and because it's a Queen card, I'm going to say it's about your brain and how smart you are, okay? So the second card that I'm pulling, the middle card in the 3-card spread, is going to be the barrier, okay? And the barrier is what is kind of stopping you from recognizing this shadow and acting on it. So let's look at the active barrier to you incorporating and integrating this shadow, all right? The second card is the 10 of Pentacles. And this is the earth element, and it's about legacy. I drew this with legacy in mind, what we leave behind. What is it we'd like to continue after we're gone? Sometimes it means an inheritance in other decks, but for me, it really is thinking about the material things you leave behind, okay? So, how could that be a barrier with thinking about your intelligence? Well, you don't want to be remembered that way. You don't maybe want to be remembered as the smart one. That could very well be. Maybe you want to be the cute one, the pretty one, the talented one, the artist one. We have a million facets to our identity. But I'd like you to think about this. What is it about the legacy that frightens you? What don't you want people to see? Maybe it's because then you'll be accountable. If you're smart, you're going to have to figure things out, aren't you? And you don't feel like it. That could also be. Think that one over, okay? The third card I'm going to pull is the advice or the solution that the cards are bringing you about how to incorporate your shadow. All right, we know what the shadow is. We know the barrier. And we are going to look at the advice that the cards are giving us. And it is the 3 of Pentacles. The 3 of Pentacles to me is a very straightforward card. For some, it is about a commissioned work and building things. For others, like myself, it is about just doing the thing. It is, don't worry about it, make it. Some things can only be learned from doing and from trying and letting these concrete things manifest. So, you don't know the legacy you're going to leave behind. Don't worry about it until you start speaking up, you start sharing your thoughts and your perceptions and your wisdom. That is the only way to get through what you're dealing with as a shadow. You got to build the thing. You got to put it on display and not be worried about what the curator's going to say. You just got to do it and say, ta-da! This is it, and this is who I am. And by accepting that and accepting that facet of your personality, you are integrating a shadow. And it isn't about shame and blame, shadow work. It's about accepting how complex we are and that maybe these things aren't so bad or anything to be ashamed of, and nothing terrible will happen when we look into those nooks and crannies and shine a light on them. That is usually when they start to dissipate, as soon as you recognize them. Okay? All right. Well, happy spring equinox. I hope you have a wonderful transition and a smooth one. A great week. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my website. I have some interesting surprises coming up in my next newsletter. Okay, everyone. Thanks again. Remember to leave those comments. I can't wait to hear what you'd like to share. Bye-bye.